Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Radhe Jaya Jagannatha Jaya Baladeva Subhadramai Jaya Sudarshana Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Nitai Gaur Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Gaur Hari Bol Nitai Gaur Premanande Harinam Sankirtan Ki So can I get Bhagavad hard copy is there? This laptop also will do. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavat Sevaya Bhagavate Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Gopakumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha Start. Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, chapter number 15, text number 21. Is everyone able to see on the screen? Tadvai dhanusta ishvasarato hayaste soham ratinrapatayo yata amananti sarvam kshanena tat abhut asadishariktam bhasman hutam kuhakaradam ivoktamusyam तद्वैदनुस्ता ईशव सरतो हयास्ते सोऽहं रति नृपतयो यत आमनन्ति सर्वं क्षणेन तदभूत् असतीशरिक्तम् भस्मान् हुतं कुहकरादम् इवोक्तम् उस्याम् तद्वैदनुस्त इशवः सरथो हयास्ते सोऽहं रति नृपतयो यत आमनन्ति सर्वं क्षणेन तदभूत् असदीशरिक्तम् भस्मन् हुतं कुहकरादम् इवोक्त उस्याम् तद्वैदनुस्तैषव सरतो हयास्ते सोऽहं रतीनपतयो यत आमनन्ति सर्वं क्षणेन तदभूरसैररिक्तम् अस्मानुतं कुहकरादमिवोक्तमुष्याम् तद्वैदनुस्तैषव सरतो हयास्ते सोऽहं रतीन्द्रपतयो यतः मनन्ति सर्वं क्षणेन तदभूददैशरिक्तम् भस्मन्भूतं कुहकरार्धमिवोक्त उष्याम् तद्वैदनुस्तैषव सरथो हयास्ते सोऽहं रति नृपतयो यत आमनन्ति सर्वं क्षणेन तदभूदशैशरिक्तम् Word to word translation. Tat, the same. Vai, certainly. Danuhu te, the same bow. Ishavaha, arrows. Saha, the very same. Rataha, chariot. Ayate, the very same horse. Saha aham, I am the same Arjuna. Rathi, the chariot fighter. Nripatayaha, all the kings. Yataha, whom? Anamanti, offered their respects. Sarvam, all. Kshanena, at a moment's notice. Tat, all those. Abhut, became. Asat, useless. Isha, because of the Lord. Riktam, being void. Basman, ashes. Kutam, offering butter. Kuhakaradham, money created by magical feats. Iva, like that, Uptam, sown, Ushyam, in barren land. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki. I have the very same Gandiva bow, the same arrows, the same chariot drawn by the same horses, and I use them as the same as Arjuna, to whom all the kings offered their due respects. But in the absence of Lord Krishna, all of them, at a moment's notice, have become null and void. It is exactly like offering clarified butter on ashes, accumulating money with a magic wand, or sowing seeds on barren land. Purport. As we have discussed more than once, one should not be puffed up by the borrowed plumes. What is plumes? Peacock feather. All energies and powers are derived from the Supreme Source, Lord Krishna, and they act as long as He desires and ceases to function as soon as He withdraws. All electrical energies are received from the powerhouse, and as soon as the powerhouse stops supplying energy, bulbs are of no use. In a moment's time, such energies can be generated or withdrawn by the supreme will of the Lord. Material civilization without the blessings of the Lord is child's play only. As long as parents allow the children to play, it is all right. As soon as the parents withdraw, the child has to stop. Human civilization and all activities thereof must be dotted with the supreme blessings of the Lord. And without these blessings, all advancement of human civilization is like decoration on a dead body. It is said here that the dead civilization and its activities are something like clarified butter on ashes, accumulation of money by a magic wand, and sowing of the seeds in a barren land. मज्ञानातिमिरन्दस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकय चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातां सहगणा रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनासहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगणा ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च। नमः ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवाद पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। नमो महावदन्याय कृष्ण प्रेम प्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्ण चैतन्य नाम्ने गौरत्विषे नमः। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधो दीनबंधो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांता राधा कांता नमोस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna. Welcome everyone to the Wednesday morning Bhagavatam class. So today's verse is very colorful, and purport is even more colorful. If you see, the verse itself contains three analogies. Money created from wand, oblations offered on the ash, and third one, seed sown in the barren land. Prabhupada goes one step ahead. He gives further examples. Puffed up by borrowed plumes, powerhouse, if electricity is removed, the bulb is useless. Then child's play. If parents say no more playing, the child has to stop. Which other are there? Dead decoration of a dead body. Right. Over and above, Prabhupada's the translation's three analogies, Prabhupada gives further four. So first, let us understand the context of this verse. We are in the 15th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, which means at this point, Krishna has wound up his pastimes and gone back to his abode. and Arjuna is realizing it. And Arjuna has already faced the situation. If you see, many times people say that Krishna was fortunate, Arjuna was fortunate, Krishna was in front of him. And whenever any doubts were there, he could directly ask Krishna and get it clarified. But if you see, even in the Mahabharata itself, Krishna actually trains, in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna trains Arjuna and then tests the training even when he was himself present. When was the testing done? Abhimanyu's death? No, there he had no decision. He took a decision and he went ahead. And in fact, Abhimanyu died, Arjuna cried. There is a rendition of Mahabharata which says, I heard it from devotees. I have never read Mahabharata myself. Where when Arjuna is crying and Abhimanyu is dying, Krishna is also crying. Arjuna asks Krishna, why are you crying? I am crying because my son has died. Why are you crying? Krishna says, I spoke Bhagavad Gita to you, and hearing after that also you are crying, so seeing that I am crying. Right? So in that sense, Arjuna failed there. Whereas another place where the training is tested, after Mahabharata, almost the climax of Mahabharata, the war. And okay, and then what happens? Who does that? Ashwatthama. Now Ashwatthama has to be punished. Yudhishthir and Bhima, Yudhishthir and Draupadi, they are saying, forgive. He is the son of our Guru. Isn't it? And Bhima and Krishna, they both are saying, no, he should be punished. Bhima is one step ahead. Krishna is saying he should be punished. So Arjuna has to make that choice. And there Krishna doesn't give a specific answer to Arjuna. The way we assume, like we expect that Arjuna and Krishna were like Chat GPT and us. Any question comes, just Chat GPT and you'll get the answer. Krishna is like, Krishna was not like that. Right? So Krishna didn't give any answer. He said, now you have to satisfy both. That is the condition which Krishna kept. And Arjuna showed his expertise in understanding Krishna's instruction. And now another test. That test was in the presence of Krishna. Can you do it? Like it's like basically once, say, someone doesn't know cooking, and Dinesh was cooking now in the kitchen. So Dinesh was a very expert cook. Suppose he teaches, anyone here doesn't know cooking? Many are there, including me. I'm learning now, slowly. And I only have to eat what I cook. That is a condition right now. So Dinesh Prabhu teaches me cooking. And then and when he's doing it, it's like, it's so simple. Mix this, that, and then make chapati, and then he's like, now you make. Right. And then we are struggling. Right. And then one day Dinesh Prabhu will be gone to Pune or some other yatra or something, and then we have to cook without his direction. Right. And then feedback goes to him from all the devotees. Prabhuji, what roti Prabhuji? It is like biscuit. Right. So similarly here, that's what's happening with respect to Arjuna. Initially, Krishna and Bhagavad Gita told Arjuna, this is what you have to do. Then one unit test, Ashwatthama. Right. And then now final exam. Krishna is left, and now Arjuna is on his own, physically speaking. Right. So this actually shows us that whenever we try to take, especially after coming to Krishna consciousness, we understand this principle of taking guidance, especially for decision making. Right. But we should never outsource our decision making to senior devotees, which means we have to take responsibility of the decisions which we make. They can give us guidance. And in fact, even senior devotees, if they're mature, they will never give us instruction, especially if it's a very important decision of our life. They will give you options. Okay, if you make this decision, these are the pros and cons. This decision, these are pros and cons. This decision, these are pros and cons. Now you make the decision and be ready to face the pros and cons. Right? Once Radhesham Prabhu asked this to Radhanath Maharaj. He said, even Radha Gopinath Prabhu asked this to Radhanath Maharaj. Maharaj, sometimes we have to make decisions and we say, what should we consult before making any decisions? Guru, Sadhu, Shastra. So Guru's instructions, lectures, we have heard, we know what Guru wants. Sadhus, we have consulted, senior God brothers, senior devotees. Shastras also we have read and we have understood what is the principle. What more can be done beyond that? So Maharaj told, the spiritual master told, with a sincere intention check, whatever decision I'm making, is it out of selfish desires or is it truly for benefit of everyone? If you're convinced it is benefit of everyone, go ahead and take the decision and be ready to face the consequences. Gratefully face if you cannot be gratefully facing the consequences, at least you can gracefully face the consequences. We'll discuss what is the difference between that. So whenever we're taking any decision, make sure that we don't outsource our decision making, we take the decision so that we have to ultimately face the consequences. Right? Now coming to the theme of this discussion today, if you see, Prabhupada goes into elaboration about how material civilization is actually powerful as long as Krishna has given that power. And once Krishna withdraws the power, it is like decoration for a dead body. So if you see, why is it that most people like if you see even in when you read Discover Yourself, Radhesham is coming up with a new book I heard. What is it? Yeah, Consciousness Code. Yeah, I saw it in YouTube. Then this yes put post. Nityananda Rishi is the inauguration, I guess. So when you read, I'm pretty sure that book is more focused towards people who are inclined scientifically or in from that perspective. May not be for devotees per se. You may not have pastimes and everything. So, so when you read Discover Yourself book, and now Discover Yourself has gone to next level. We have that A, B, C, D, E, F. First session, A, art means there should be an artist. B for beautiful creation has to be a organizer. Similarly, we have creation means creator. The design means designer. Like that, when each of these arguments are there, and we feel that, after hearing this, how can someone not become a devotee? But actually, if you see, I met one person when I was giving sessions in IISc. We were standing in a book table and we were registering people for Discover Yourself. One person comes, and he's not arrogant, but definitely he is not submissive also. He says, "Why do you accept?" Then I gave A for artist. Then he was what for every A, B, C, D, E, F I was giving, he was actually mentioning a theory. So apparently, atheists have already thought about it. Atheistic scientists, A, B, C, D, E, F, those arguments, I already thought about it. I have given a name to it. This fallacy. This fallacy means it's a flaw in the logic. Right? And they have come up with a counter argument also. So when we understand this A, B, C, D, E, F, and then we go to some people and try to preach to them, if their envy to the Lord is more stronger than our devotion, then reverse preaching happens. Right. So that's why many times people say that through logic and rational, we'll be able to even Chaitanya Charitamrita says Siddhanta Baliya Chitte Nakara Alas. Sudruda Nishchay. Through that it happens. At the same time, you have to also understand that what is the consciousness of a person. That way, a person interprets the world. Which means, say, for example, in our body, we say that every part of the body has a function. Is it eyes have a function, nose have a function, especially when men are attracted to the opposite sex. Whatever body part, those body parts also have a function. The breasts are there to give milk to the child, isn't it? So we say that. But then argument comes. What about appendix? We have our Avi Prabhu sitting here. He's a doctor. He can give more. Appendix is called vestige, isn't it? The useless organ. So how can a body which is made by God have a flaw? An organ which is useless. Isn't it? What is the argument? What is the counter argument? That means God is not a perfect designer. So each body has a part has a function, but body as a whole has a main function. What is it? Karmic reaction. There are two words for that. Recently came across one more. One is dukkhada. The Yashoda we have, one who gives fame. Dukkhada means one who gives misery. That is the name of the body. Kleshada. Right. And recently one more devotee was sharing, one more place in scripture it is mentioned, Vyadi Mandiram. The human body is a temple of diseases. Right. That is the description of the body. So for those people who need to suffer a specific type of reaction which has come from my appendix, then they suffer. How many of you have not undergone appendix operation? Acha, don't know what is appendix. That's even better. Right? Appendix is a part in our intestine. It's a small organ. Right? Whenever I think it's filled with food, like whatever the digestive, when it's become full, it starts giving a lot of pain. So people need to take it out. And if the appendix, that organ is not there, there is no loss for the body. It's not like kidney or liver or something. But most of the time, it may not affect also. You may ourselves know people who have lived their whole life without appendix operation or appendix problem. So one more argument. We say that for every law, there is a lawmaker, isn't it? And then we give example of Fermi, the planets, how sun, if Earth was a little closer, everything would burn to ash, a little far, everything would be turned to ice, and seasonal changes. So if really God made this whole system, then why does it rain on ocean? What is the purpose of rain? Okay, there is water in ocean and there is land which is cut off from ocean. So we need to drink, and there is no river also there. So we need to, those people need the living entities, plant trees, whatever it is. So what the Lord has made, a system in which water is evaporated from the ocean. Saltless water now is carried across geography, and then where there is no water, there it rains. And then through the river, it comes back to the ocean. If that is true, then why is water falling on ocean? It's useless, no? It's a flawed design. What is the argument now for this? Yes, bro. Okay, but then law also is update. No? Law also has to remain updated with the change. Isn't it? Like we have our new laptop. Like what is it? MacBook or whatever it is. So even Windows is upgrading XP 95 and then Windows 11, 10. Why is law outdated? How can God's law be outdated? See, this is what I'm saying. Yes, bro. Okay. So why isn't Krishna's like, for example, desert areas? There are people living there also. God is ultimate provider. Yes, bro. Yeah. Only reason it rains on the ocean so that atheists can get a reason to remain atheists. Right. So they want to remain atheists. They want to find. So this Krishna is desiratory, na? He has to fulfill everyone's desire. So the same world you can see, like we execute the example of that, what is it, cobbler. He says, look at the creation of this world. A small seed is there, and then from that seed, a whole tree is like a zip file inside the seed. And then each of the tree can have further seeds. So millions of seeds, millions of trees. That was the logic of the cobbler who was seeing from a devotional perspective. Similarly, there can be someone who can see from a non-devotional perspective, and they'll have their own interpretation. That's why Bhagavad Gita says, Indriyani Mano Buddhir. Lust is there in senses, mind, and intelligence. So, first of all, the way the world is created itself has certain flaws kept. So that, okay, if you want to be atheist, congratulations, go ahead. These are the reasons for you to remain atheist. On top of that, we have Maya's two energies, Avaranatmaka Shakti, Prachya. So Vanishi covers us, covers our intelligence. That's why I think a couple of weeks, 1 month back, Vidar Madhav Prabhu gave a class. He was saying how the baby in the womb, it is like saying, Krishna, this time when I come out, pure devotion, nothing less. The moment it comes out, gets covered by Maya. So similarly, when we have envy for Krishna and then we are living in this world, then naturally one of the effects of material nature is to cover us, to cover our intelligence. And we start feeling that, okay, if I can get some power, then I can control material nature also. That's why you might have heard this phrase, knowledge is power. All might have heard this, and we take it in a positive way. In the sense, we take it like, if we get education, then we can get good job, and then through that. Or knowledge is power can also be spiritual knowledge. If we get, then we can control our mind and senses. And then, but the way actual context where this knowledge is power originated, if you see, it was actually based on a particular community in the Europe, in England. Context behind this phrase was, if you can get enough knowledge of this world, then we can control material nature. Material nature is cruel, according to them, like earthquake happens and volcanic eruptions and tornadoes and storms and everything. Material nature is cruel, but through knowledge, that power of knowledge, we can control the material nature. That is the understanding. Right. So yeah, coming back to our discussion. So whenever, so Indriyani Mano, so first is the material world itself is in one sense flawed, the way it is created. On top of that, Maya covers our intelligence also. And then depending upon to the degree of our consciousness, if you are too envious, then we'll interpret everything according to atheistic perspective. And if you are devotional, then we can interpret everything according to a devotional perspective. That's why faith depends upon what is your belief system, right? And your logic. If your belief system, you want to believe in God, then all logic you'll get. And the proof of that is Prabhupada books and if you Radhesham Prabhu's classes. And if a person is convinced that there is no God, like we have this last week I was quoting, Aradito yadi haris tapasatatakim. Na aradito yaris tapasatatakim. Antar bahiredi haris. Na antar bahiredi haris tapasatatakim. If you are not going to worship Krishna, then what is the use of your tapasya? And if you're already worshipping Krishna, then why are you performing tapasya? Not required. If you are seeing Krishna inside outside, then don't need to perform tapasya. If you have decided I will not see Krishna inside outside, then why are you performing tapasya? Same principle here. Whatever is our belief system, based on that comes our logic. Yes. Like for example, same situation, depending upon consciousness, we can interpret differently. A boy, like now Valentine's Day is coming next month. Right? Many of your office, many of the people, love birds will start getting excited. Right. So So imagine in a office it may not happen. In school, college, for example, a boy is in love with a girl and he has 4 or 5 friends and he's like planning this Valentine's Day. I will buy her flower and this chocolate, and in front of whole college I'll propose. I'll show my love and everything. So he goes on Valentine's Day and she's with her friends and the whole college hall or something, and she kneels down with a rose and everyone is like, what happens? And then she takes the rose and slaps him tightly on the cheek. Right. And he's holding his cheek and he's having tears in his eyes. And all his friends are like, "Hey, such an insult. He might be devastated." And he's crying also, see tears in his eyes. And their friends go to him and say, "Bahut dard hua kya? It hurt a lot." And he's like, "She touched me. She touched me. She touched my cheeks." He is not understanding that she was angry, she hit him. His perspective is finally I got to touch her. Right. So in the material consciousness, that which is material, person makes it divine. Right. And that which is divine, a person says that these are statues, these are murals, or paintings, or whatever. Right. So similarly, depending upon our consciousness, we'll be able to interpret. So even as devotees, we are now currently living in Bangalore. Right. And this is like one of the most fast growing IT AI cities of the whole of our country at this point. So now how do we live in this world? And all of us are having, anyone here not having smartphone? Anyone using dumb phone? The old keypad phones are called dumb phones now. Who were there? Their feet should be washed and they should be given special. So there may be some devotees like that. Yogesh Prabhu also. You have smartphone. Both are. So devotee know how to utilize everything. Right. So both. So naturally, when we are living in this world, and it is natural to be impressed by it. How many times we have come across something and we're like, wow, it's amazing. We come across, we want to draft some letter, and then we go for Chat GPT. Chat GPT drafts a beautiful letter and gives us, or some announcements we need to make. We don't know what announcement, how to frame it, and then Chat GPT helps us. So it is natural to be surprised. Like once we had we had done pest control in our home, and after pest control, 3 days you're supposed to not use it, and there are a lot of fumes also. We did pest control and we went to Mangalore for 2 weeks. We came back after 2 weeks, and that day I and my wife both had job. Monday morning we reached, and our analysis was, so when they do pest control, they remove all the vessels of the kitchen, keep it in the hall, and then they spray everywhere. The whole house is a mess. And our analysis was, in 2 hours we'll finish everything. So we reached Bangalore at 7 o'clock, reached home by 8 o'clock, 10 o'clock is our job, 2 hours we'll finish. 9:45, and 10% of the work also is not done. Right. So then my wife takes out her phone, urban company. 50 rupees, 2 hours. One maid will come and do everything, cleaning of the house. Of course, see, initially it is 50 now. Once more subscribers come, it will become 500. But at least at that point in time. So it is natural. That person came, cleaned everything. I was doing my work, and I'm literally sitting in, like, it's like a Kurukshetra only for me. Whole mess everywhere, and in between that, I'm sitting and doing my work. And the clean vessels are getting clean, house is getting cleaned, and everything. So it's natural to be surprised. Wow, technology can do this also. Technology can do that also. So that is basically like material nature. Material nature is like one devotee was saying. Material nature is like a dancer, and all living entities are sitting on the audience and watching. And imagine material nature is like whatever dancer is there, she's doing the same step. After 2-3 minutes, after repetition of 2-3 steps, the audience will be like distracted. What is the same boring thing? Let's get up and go. When they're about to get up, she changes her steps. Hey, something new, something new, something new. Right, and that goes for 4-5 minutes, and then okay, same word, same word, same word. They're about to get up again, some new steps. Right. So same thing is happening. First, initially, like the computers in the 1970s, 1980s, personal computers came, big, CRT monitor screens and everything. Then came Windows XP. Right. And then along with that, technology became smaller also. Initially, we used to have big tape recorders. If you have seen your grandfather's time, big tape cassette you have to put in everything. Then it became Walkman. Then it became iPod. Now iPod is not there only. Everything is in the phone itself. Then came smartphone. And after that came the smartphone combined with internet streaming. Now no more software installation. Hardly we do. Everything is on cloud. And recent step of Maya is AI. And that is also now in the last 3-4 years becoming a little stale. So people are talking about robotics now. And people are fearing that so much AI you have, and then combine that with robotics, what will happen? Humanity will get exhausted, like, killed and everything. Right. So when we hear all this, it is natural to make such conclusions. Radheshyam Prabhu says in 1992, some scientists had made not prediction, claim that the rate at which science and technology is progressing in next 20 years or 10 years, there will be cyborgs. Cyborgs in the sense, there will be robots who will have feelings and they can reproduce and produce further smaller robots also. Right. So it's Radheshan, this is a lecture I heard 2010. He said it's 20 years now and still no progress. So why is that? Because if you see from a Western perspective, the way the world has grew, initially we were all amoeba, then we became paramecium, and then we became birds, then insects, and then finally through that, finally we have come to the stage. So we are now in a progressive stage. And if you see, especially last 200 years, the amount of progress, scientific progress that has happened and the way life has become convenient, people feel that any and every problem can be solved. So, because just 20 years back, this Zoom was not there. Google didn't exist. Netflix didn't exist. Just 20. Facebook didn't exist. Right. So many of the problems which now I remember people had to struggle for STD calls. Right. And we have to keep track. Don't speak too much because paise cut jayenge. And today we are doing video call across the globe for free with Wi-Fi connection. So when we see that, okay, well, problem 1 could be solved easily, problem 2 could be solved, problem 3 could be solved, then we finally come to birth, old age, disease, death. And then we think, okay, next is this. And there are people. There is one Brian Johnson, he's a billionaire, whose main focus in life right now is to conquer death. So he takes 100 medicines every day, 100 pills. And his last meal of the day is at 11 o'clock in the morning. And he does a lot of exercise and everything. And he posts a lot of videos on social media, on YouTube, saying how McDonald's is this, fast food is that, don't eat oil, don't eat sugar, and everything. And a lot of people in the comment section are very against him. They say, what is the use of living a life without enjoying? They are saying this. So anyway, so that person is trying his best. He's actually, I think, what, 60 years old, I guess now, 50, 60 years old. But if you see his photo, he's trying his best to look younger. There also people are saying it looks more creepy than young, but whatever. He looks younger. But just imagine, I was thinking, when I saw that post, my first thought was, the biggest irony, the greatest joke will be if he dies from an accident. Because he's trying his best to not die, and that's the reason he's doing all these medicines and everything. Because dying of the body, natural death, like the, what is it? Kaumaram, Yovanam, Jara. That is natural death, we call it. That is not the only way people die, right? Unnatural death also is there. Accidents and diseases and so many other freak accidents and everything. So if you see from that material perspective, then we understand that, okay, birth, old age, disease, death. Birth, anyway, people don't consider as problem only. Rather, people right now want more children to be born, especially with the population depopulation problem happening outside India. So birth, though, people don't consider it as a problem. And even if it is a problem, then take contraceptives. You don't have to worry about having children. So old age, disease, and death. Right. So when we understand scripture, we say that, oh, these are manufacturing defects. The way the world was created is designed to have birth, old age, and disease and death. That's why even if you see from a Darwinian perspective, when was the first human being born? 40,000 years back, Homo sapien. Homo erectus, first time, 40,000 years back. Show me one human being who's 40,000 years old. 4,000 years old. 400 years old. The record is 112. That is the limit. Who's the oldest person who's ever been alive. From a Western modern perspective, if you see Kumbh Mela time, if you go to Kumbh Mela, many of the yogis, if you come, they are like 400, 500 years old probably. And we still have Yasdev sitting there in Badrikashram, whom we cannot access. Right? And then we have people like Hanuman and Ashwatthama, our Chiranjeevis, isn't it? So anyway, coming back to our discussion. So we, while living in this world, right? So we understand what makes people feel that material civilization is great. Material civilization doesn't require. Prabhupada writes in the first Radha Mana Bhagavan ki, Jagannath Bali Subhadra Maharani ki, or Nitai ki. So Prabhupada writes in the one of the purports in first canto, second chapter, second verse, I guess. He says, previously people would go to temple for economic benefit, do some karma kanda yagya or indulgences, as they say, where people do some sinful activities and then they go to the church and they say, I did 1, 2, 3 sinful activity, please forgive me. And unfortunately, eventually that became commercialized. So they go to the father and confess, I did nonsense 1, nonsense 2, oh, 3 nonsense, $50. Then you give $50 and then that person would give indulgence. Next week again, next Sunday again, same 3 nonsense. Oh, again $50. Next week again he comes, it's $100 he gives. Why $100? You have to give 50. No, next week I'm out of station, so I'm paying in advance. for the sinful activity I'm going to commit. Right? So when economic development is the only reason you come to God, in future when there is an alternative available, then you don't not come to God. So now economic development is possible through business, or economic development is possible through so many other entrepreneurial ideas, because of which people don't want to go to temple. But those people, when they know that beyond a certain point we have no jurisdiction, they come to God only. So when we launched with Chandrayaan 3, if you remember, just before the launch, our entire scientists went to Tirupati with a scaled model of Chandrayaan. Please pass Karadu. That was like we give our pen to Ganesh so that he can bless him. And that is the steroids version of that. Please, we don't want our rocket to blow up in space. Right. So those who know, those are genuinely in the field, they will know that there are many things happening. Even like when our fracture happens, doctors actually, all due respects to them, Prabhuji also, it is not that they do some like Prabhuji take a wand and do it right. They put the bones together and then they cast it so that don't move. So naturally the body heals itself. Right. So when we understand this concept, that okay, based on our consciousness, we can choose whether we want to interpret something materially or spiritually. Like we have example of Narad Muni. When he was a small boy, his mother passed away. And then we also have example of Kritadyuti. Who's Kritadyuti? Chitraketu's wife. She lost a child who was few days old, probably. So here, if you see, it's very difficult for us to compare pain. And unfortunately, pain is more of a feeling. That's why there is no painometer. You cannot. People say, doctors may ask sometimes, from a scale of 1 to 10, how much is the pain? 9, 8, or whatever. That's a subjective, isn't it? So there is no painometer as such. But if you see from an objective perspective, small 5-year-old boy lost the only person in his life, now to become complete orphan. That is more difficult to handle. Or a queen who has every facility in the world. She's the queen of the kingdom and she lost her child. So from objective perspective, which one is more dangerous, more difficult to handle? The first one. Subjective perspective, definitely. Like for example, all of us are currently going through some problems in life. Right? And most of the problems can be put in 3 categories: Adhyatmic, Adhibhautik, Adhidevi. Like for someone cannot handle cold. Right? I drove, actually I had to give a class in the morning at 6:45 today, 6:45 to 7, the Gita hours. And then 7:30 is class here. Right? So that means in half an hour in Bangalore, I have to travel 10 kilometers. So even as I was driving, I was like, Krishna, if something happens, I'm coming. Because I have to drive very fast. So and by the time I reached here, my hands, it felt as if I'm holding a knife and crushing it. Because of cold. It is so cold outside. So anyone here has sensitivity to cold? See, so many devotees that are there here. So right now, your body may be reacting to that, and especially if there is no hot water also. I generally have cold water bath, and it's out of body experience. That's the only thing I can say. Right. So after that, though, there'll be no problem in chanting, though. But the first mug of cold water on the body, it's like really you can see the soul coming out of the body. So anyone here having cold water here? Cold water bath? We have some yogis here. So someone may be having sensitivity to cold. So that is Adhyatik, Adhibhautik, Adhidevik. Which klish? Adhibhautik? Adhyatmik. Our body is not subjected. Our body is not able to handle it. Or some disease someone may be having. Or in someone's life right now, there may be a boss who's doing tandav in their life. Or colleagues who are doing politics. Adi Bhautik, some other person. Or someone is feeling, Prabhuji, what is this? So much tax I'm paying. The government, Adi Bhautik. Right. Adi Devik. In someone's life, some stars are wrong right now. Some Shani is sitting in the 5th house and some Rahu is sitting on the 4th house, and everything you touch turned to ash. One person came to our devotee and said, Prabhuji, no, not Prabhuji, he was not a devotee. He said, sir, have you heard of Midas touch? Midas is a Greek personality who whatever you touch would become gold. So Midas touch is a phrase in English for a person who is like very lucky. He starts a project, successful. Talks to a person, that person is in love with this person. Puts money in some stock market and it goes up. Krapakar was like that. That's in kitchen. Okay. Whatever touch, like Radharani used to cook so such nice dishes for Krishna. Durvasa Muni said. So this person came and said, you know about Midas touch, right? And Prabhu said, yeah, I know about Midas touch. And this person is saying, I think I have got reverse Midas touch. Everything I'm touching is turning into ash. Right? I put money in a stock market in that company. Company went bankrupt. I went into a project. The project stalled forever. Till now it was going fine. I joined and now everything is in a mess. Right? I spoke to some person and in the whole life he never became angry. Now he became angry on me. So sometimes it must happen. We may go through certain phases. Right? So that is because of the bad phase from the past karma, which basically the grahas, navagrahas are giving us. Prabhupada said, don't be angry at the instrument of your karma. Right? So many times people ask why bad things happen to good people. There's another logic. So when we say that indriyani mano buddhir, at a sensory level, we may interpret something which may be atheistic. At intellectual level, we may interpret something that I mentioned, that rainfall, appendix and everything. And mental level, someone may interpret something in a negative way. Like I gave example of Dhruv Maharaj, Narada, boy Narada versus Kritadyuti. Like similarly, there was one boy. There was a boy who came. Before I go to that, some of you are facing Adhyatmic Klesh, Adi Bhautik Klesh, Adi Devi Klesh. All of you are able to remember at least one instance that's happening right now. Which is most painful? Adi Bhautik, the body, mind. Atmic. Okay, mind is okay. Any other answer? Whichever problem we are going through right now, that is most painful for us. Right. Objectively, we may say, but Prabhuji, body is still manageable. But that person in my life, no, he's torturing me or he's torturing me or whatever. But Prabhuji, everything is going on life. As long as the temperature becomes a little more warm, I'm happy. Adibhautik place. Right. So here, one person came to our devotee and he said, he was a Western university. He said, I don't believe in God. So he was a brahmachari preacher. He said, why? He said, when I was 5 years old, my parents passed away. And they were staunch Catholics. Every Sunday they would go to church, Good Friday, everything they would celebrate, Christmas, everything they would celebrate, and they would follow whatever Christianity says. But then God took them away from me. Then our Prabhu asked, okay, at the age of 5, your parents died. How is it? How did you make it to Ivy League college? It's very difficult to get. He said, actually, I went to 2, 3 foster homes. And finally, at the age of 12, a couple adopted me. And they were very righteous people, very good-hearted people. They were not religious at all. But they were very good-hearted. And they made sure that I get into a good university like this. So I was very fortunate. I was very lucky to get them. Then our Prabhu said, wait. There is a problem here. When bad thing happened, who did it? God. When good thing happened, good luck. So either ascribe both to God or ascribe both to luck. Okay, by bad luck, I lost my parents, and by good luck, I got my foster parents. Or God took away my parents, and the same God gave foster parents. Isn't it? Let's not be unfair with God. So in that sense, depending upon what our consciousness is, we may start interpreting in that particular way. So naturally, when we are going through our life as devotees, so now how to deal with this? It's obvious, like as I did, the dancer in the stage is changing the steps and we get wow, new something new. So how do we remain grounded? How do we not get carried away? Right. So there are the 3 factors that matters. First is time factor. Right? And we cannot control time anyway. So I think now we should change that phrase, time management. We can never manage time. We can manage our life according to the way time flows. Right. So one is time. Time will reveal the realities. Like as I tell, Radheshyam posted 1992, scientists were very proud, and then now it's 2025 now, more than 30 years, and still I don't see any robots or cyborgs. And even if the robots and cyborgs, if you see what all is there, it is laughable. It's recently one of the events that Elon Musk apparently launched some robots. There's a big speculation going on. Probably it was some people sitting in another room controlling those robots. Those theories also are going on. So one is time factor. Time reveals. So when initially AI came into mainstream, everyone is talking about AI. Many of the companies fired their employees and replaced it with AI. Literally 2 months later, they're like, sorry, we made a mistake. Come back. The AI is completely hallucinating at this point and giving all. So many customers are angry because customer are asking one thing and the AI is saying something else. Right. So time factor is one thing which will reveal. There are 2 more factors which we can choose. Either we can choose to get trained or we can wait for a trauma. So these are the 2 ways in which that Avaranatmika Shakti of Maya is actually removed. So what is Prakshayapatmika Shakti? kicking. Basically, that is trauma. So either we train ourselves to see the world through Shastra Chakshu, to hear classes, or through use our own contemplation, which are Vimarsha, and then come to this conclusion. Or we get enamored by material nature, and then later we realize that, oh, it was a fake promise. Right. So that are the only two choices we have. So as training, from the training perspective, what all we can do? Training ourselves. One I mentioned, we can hear the classes from senior devotees. Second is especially Back to Godhead magazines. They are extremely practical. And have you heard of 12 aims of Shastric study? Right, in that practical application, personal application, and preaching application, mood and mission, faith and conviction. One of them is theological application. So Back to Godhead magazine is a gold standard of theological application. Whatever is happening in the world around, devotees are writing some articles, and on a monthly basis we get those out. I think Manu Prabhu is in charge here. So devotees, those who are already giving easy or whatever, they may be getting a free subscription. If not, please do subscribe for it on a monthly basis. So many of the topics which are going on right now, the buzzwords, devotees take those buzzwords and then the write articles from the spiritual perspective. That is one. Another way of training ourselves is preaching. So you understand what, see, we cannot just like, there is one devotee in US. He has done double PhD in evolution, Darwin's evolution. He's a proper devotee. And in fact, he has done more devotional service than anyone else in that whole community. But our devotee was talking to him, and he was telling that, Prabhu, all the arguments which you give in the Bhagavatam classes and our Discover Yourself, they are actually laughable compared to, if you see the depth of discussion that can happen. For a PhD person, a graduate person can refute your A, B, C, D, E, F, or whatever Darwin's theory we say, because ours is a very entry-level knowledge. Even Radheshyam Prabhu has written it, not for us to become a PhD, to give us a basic tools to convince our own mind and to refute some basic arguments. You can't take these arguments and go and talk to a double PhD in that field, isn't it? So anyway, we can have some basic understanding of what the particular domain is and try to correlate to the scriptures. But when you preach, you'll get a lot of realizations. Like a couple of weeks back when Mataji messaged me, she said, Prabhuji, I have some questions. I'm reading a book. I have some questions. Let me know when you are free, we will talk. I thought Science of Self-Realization or a Second Chance, maybe that book. Then okay, and then it was getting postponed. Then finally I said, okay, today we are discussing. So she came on a video call on the phone. And she said, Prabhuji, I'm reading Valmiki Ramayana. I said, my God, I've never read Ramayana in my whole life. I never read Ramayana myself. And I don't want to read also Ramayana, because I would always be happy hearing from those who have read. So for me, it is like a puzzle piece. So basic storyline we all know, but the details, specific details, is revealed to in different classes. Like I was hearing one lecture in which this discussion about Vali and Sugriv was there. So how exactly Vali and Sugriv fought? What was the main fight between the two? Why is the reason they were so anti, like against each other? What miscommunication? What is the past time? One demon, they were Mayavi demon, they were actually chasing. He went into a cave, and Sugriv went in and told Vali went in, told Sugriv, stand outside. And then Sugriv said, I'll come. No, you stand here. So then he stood there, he goes inside, and then long time later also he doesn't come out, and there's a loud scream. Right? And fearing and the bloodstream comes out. And seeing that, Sugriv concludes that, oh, this is Vali. Vali is dead. And if that demon can kill Vali, I am even small, much smaller than that. He can easily kill me. And what will happen to the kingdom? He plugs the hole, and then he goes to kingdom, and he actually says that Vali is dead, and then they tell him, you become the king. Vali finally comes out. And generally what happens, why this happened is, every time Sugriv would kill someone, he would actually have a dance. Vali would have a dance of victory. Right? Which means he is out of like that happiness, he would celebrate. This time he was so exhausted fighting that demon inside the cave, he didn't do that. So he just, that demon just yelled, and Vali wanted to preserve his energy, and he became quiet. So then that was what Sugriv concluded. If Vali had won, then I would have heard that celebration, which Vali generally does. He didn't hear that. So then he went, and then Vali immediately he saw, he came out, and then he saw, why is this closed? And then he saw his Wali dead, Sugriv dead. He comes out, Sugriv is not there, and there only one footsteps going out of that place. Then by the time he comes from there to kingdom, Kishkinda, his mind is already coming up with multiple theories. One of the theories was probably Sugriv wanted to become the king by killing me. And the moment he goes there and he sees Sugriv on the throne, that theory is confirmed. Right? And Sugriv is happy to meet Vali. Vali is in a different mode only. He's extra happy. He beats him up, Sugriv, like anything. He doesn't want. Sugriv says, okay, if we are alive in other life, after Jan baji to lakho paye. Right? If I live, then some other day I'll come and explain. He runs away from it. The more he runs away, the more Vali is confirmed now. If he was not guilty, why is he running away? Sugriv. And then his ministers are telling, his wife is telling, Roma, I think, telling, but he doesn't listen. You fools, he'll tell something and you will believe. Right? And then he wants to attack him and beat him up. But then he had a place called Rishimukh Mountain. And there is a story behind that also. Once Dundubi, if I'm not wrong, some demon was there. He had thrown it there, and the blood of that demon had fell in one yagya which Rishi was performing. Rishi curses. Whoever did this, if he comes back to this particular mountain range, his head will burst open into pieces. Then he goes and hides there and takes shelter in that place. Now Wali is feeling that, how can I harm him more? How can I harm him more? I know. I'll take his wife for myself. So then he actually takes Tara as his own wife when her husband is still alive. Right. So, and there is one more pastime also. I don't know if you've heard this pastime. So every day when Sugriv, Wali would go to 4 corners of India to perform Sandhya Vanda. Morning, evening. So one day, and every time while going, he would not stand on the Rishimukh mountain area, but he would go and kick Sugriv in the head and fly off. Right. So one day, Hanuman caught his leg. And Sugriv is, Wali is trying to fly, and Hanuman is pulling him down. Come, I'll make your feet touch the ground. And then finally, there is like what that resultant forces. One force down, one force up, and they're stuck. And finally, Wali says, why you want to kill me? What do you want? He says, why are you humiliating your brother like that? He's my master. How did, and I had a question also. How did Hanuman, a powerful person like that, become servant of Sugriv? There is a story behind that also. So all that, I never read Ramayana. All these are from different lecture pieces, like a jigsaw puzzle. Okay, there was this detail. Okay, now this detail. Similarly, Mahabharata also, if you see, people say, the very fact that Yudhishthir Maharaj gambled means he set an example for all of us. We should also gamble. Many people say this example. But if you see, what was the logic behind Yudhishthir's gambling? Yes. When did he take that one? Yes. Raj says, oh, Prabhuji is here. So, cooking is done? Yeah. So Vedavyas, after the Rajasuya sacrifice, Vedavyas says that, no, he actually asks Vedavyas, let there be peace and prosperity. He says there will be a big war, after there will be peace and prosperity. Then Yudhishthira Maharaj comes up with this analysis. He says, fight happens, conflict happens when there are conflict between two people and they don't listen to the mediator. So whatever authority is in my life, I'll never disobey that person. And that authority, unfortunately, was biased. And then that authority, Dhritarashtra, sends invitation to Yudhishthir for gambling through Vidura. So 2 senior people, 2 authorities are telling him, please come and gamble. He thought, okay, seniors are telling, I not want to disobey. And then he thought that if things go out of control, they will stop. They will say, okay, stop it here. But they never said, isn't it? And they went to Vanvas. And then in Agyat Vanvas, just before their Vanvas ends, Dhritarashtra sends Sanjaya to Yudhishthir with an amazing message. Anyone knows that message? See, this is the point. When you hear from devotees, you can fit. Rather than you yourself go and read Mahabharata and then all that, we can do. Definitely no problem. We have Mahabharata written by devotees only. This is my personal conviction. Hear from devotees. So there he says, O Yudhishthir, for a Grahastha, the climax, the glory of their life is to reach the stage of Vanaprastha. To give up everything and stay in the Utu forest at the end of their Grahastha ashram. You are so fortunate that you are getting to live like a Vanaprastha even as a Grahastha. How fortunate you are. Continue staying in the forest. Right? Why do you want to shed blood for the sake of kingdom? Right? And Sanjay hears this and he's like, wow, this is such a nice message. He's actually convinced by that. But by now Yudhishthira has come to his senses. After going through ghat ka pani peete. He is now come to senses. He says Dhritarashtra is not impartial person. He has attachment towards his own son, and he's not only attachment is one thing. He's ready to destroy us. Then Yudhishthir says that first of all, I'm not a Vanaprastha yet. I'm just a young Grahastha right now. And secondly, I never told anything about fight. Who said about war? You are telling about war. That means you are not ready to give the kingdom unless there is a war. Right. So anyway, so when we read these kind of sections, it becomes very enlightening. So this Mataji, she asked me a question. Prabhuji, and I have never read Ramayana in the first place. And the two questions he asked. First is Lord Dasharath performs Ratsu sacrifice. And I knew Ratsu sacrifice, not Ratsu, sorry, Ashwamedha Yagya. There is a horse involved. But in that description, there is a detailed description how what actually happened. The horse was brought and sacrifice was started. And Kaushalya, she takes the sword and chops the head of the horse in with 3 strokes, and then all the other body parts. And then the Yagik Brahmanas, they offer one part of the horse body in the sacrificial fire. She said, Prabhuji, I got disturbed when I read this. I said, I'm also disturbed. I'm hearing it for the first time. I also don't know about this. That I was praying Krishna, Krishna, you only have to, enlighten. So then I gave an answer to that part. Hopefully she was convinced. Then second question also she asked about how Ahalya, Gautam Rishi's wife, she got cursed to become a stone because of Gautam Rishi, because Indra came in the form of Gautam Rishi, and so there it is mentioned that particular Ramayana written by devotees itself. They were translating it into English from Sanskrit Valmiki Ramayana. That Ahalya actually knew that it is not her husband. Still, she had some desire, right? So that is first thing. Second thing is Ram comes. She again gets back her normal human form, and Ram touches her feet. So Mataji's question was, if Ahalya really was not that chaste, then why is Ram? Okay, then that stone becoming is justified. But why is Ram touching her feet? Right. So then I was giving her answer. Maybe some other time we'll discuss what the answer was for that. As I was giving the answer, I was getting impressed by my own answer. Ki, wah, kya answer hai? So it was very clear for me that it is not my intelligence that is giving the answer, because on the spot I'm creating it, isn't it? So it is basically her sincerity, which is inspiring the Paramatma in my heart to speak the answer. In the process, I'm getting purified. I'm also getting the explanation for that answer. So one of the second ways, one is we're talking about training, right? One is the hearing the classes. Second is preaching. One more was we discussed about Back to Godhead magazines. Those magazines are very powerful. And if you see my spiritual master, he was actually mentioning in a lecture that if you see global warming, environmentalism, a lot of activism is happening especially in the Western part. If you have seen, people are throwing paint. They don't want us to use oil, so they are trying to get attention of the people by throwing paint on some, historical monuments and everything. So a lot of discussion is happening about environmental saving, global warming, and everything. When was the first time this phrase was turned? The coin was termed environmentalism or global warming. 1970s. 1970s, because until then the motor vehicle sales were just increasing, and it reached a very nice peak in 1970s, and then a lot of changes were observed in the environment. Prabhupada spoke about it in 1930s, Back to Godhead Max. Right. Prabhupada started that after, during that phase, 30s and 40s. That time only Prabhupada has mentioned, if you use too much of material resources against the wishes of the Lord, and we exploit the material nature, even in the Bhagavatam it is mentioned in the 11th canto. How, even I think it was, who was it? Third canto, there is mention of Hiranyaksha, who actually took Mother Earth. There Prabhupada mentions too much drilling of the oil, the drilling of the Mother Earth can cause environmental imbalance also. Right. So one is through preaching, second is through hearing, and third is through reading. We can train ourselves. If we don't want to do this, what is the other option we have? Trauma. So there will be some people who will come and make some big claim. We can make these are all the changes we can make, and like one more jaw-dropping incident. Like for example, there are people who are handicapped. Right, they cannot move their body, the hands, and everything. They're on the wheelchair for the rest of their life. So one company comes and says that we can actually fit some devices in your brain, because of which chips in your neural networks you can create, so that you can move around and everything. So they tried doing it on animals first. Some monkeys died, some survived. Then they tried it on first human being also. And so basically, this person is sitting on a wheelchair, and there is an implant in his brain. And without even moving his body, just by his thought process, is able to move the mouse on the computer and play a game on the computer. So it was like a jaw-dropping moment. So finally, we have come to the stage where, similarly, stem cell research. Stem cell research is used for creating, the paralysis part. So when we hear all this, our jaws drop. It's like, wow, finally. So, but as devotees, we understand, yes, we are trying to make lives more convenient. But birth, old age, disease, death, they are the unsolvable problems. So devotees also want to solve the same problem. Non-devotees also want to solve the same problem. But our methods are different. As devotees, we are not trying to live eternally in this life, in this body. We want to end the cycle of birth and death. After this death is over, we don't want to take another birth. Whereas, what is the theistic way of not dying? Somehow or other, in this body, try to remain as long as possible, which is actually a frustrating experience. So, training or trauma, we have the two options. Anyway, time is there, which is anyway moving in the forward direction. So, we have to make that choice. Do we want to get trained and realize that material civilization is for what it is? Or we can put all our faith in material civilization only to actually later get traumatized by it. And especially why trauma comes, because whenever there is, like, even in the material civilization, there are some people who are leading the direction. There may be some top notch people. Like, even as we grow up, small boy, you ask, what do you want to become? Astronaut, scientist. By the time he comes to 12th standard, Google, Microsoft, no, naukri mil jaye, badi baat. By the time he finishes, his final year engineering or whatever, which is one job I want. That's all. Nothing else is required. We realize it is not easy. So there will be some people who will be leading in that. Like, for example, this is a crude example of what actually causes that trauma. See, all of us, not all of us, many of us, when we were in our school days, we had TV at home and a TV cable. And what is the problem with the TV cable? Too many ads, advertisement. We have no control, very less control. We can only change channel. That's it. And whatever movies are going to come, it would come in a newspaper. I would read that. Okay, tomorrow, okay, HBO, this is okay, Star Movies. Then whether you want to watch it or not watch it. And suppose you're watching it, and something has happened, some phone came, you can't pause. It'll go on. It's like time factor. It'll go on. You have to adjust your life according to what is happening. People would watch KBC, and they're sitting. Everything is frozen. Okay, they're sitting and watching. Moment break comes, go wash vessels, clean the table, and everything. Go to washroom, come back and sit and everything. So that was the situation in 2000s. Then slowly, what happened? Internet pick up, and then they thought, okay, we will now put everything on internet. Then came Netflix, and it said everything, whatever you want to watch, in one place, cheaper than cable, no ads. $8, what, 100 rupees? $8 even back then. 50 rupees means what? 300 rupees. No ads, nothing. Watch whatever you want. Pause, binge watch, whole time you can sit and watch, no problem. So that time it really felt. So there is a big problem in the entertainment world called piracy, where whatever you want, illegally people can download and watch. So they were putting a lot of laws and this and that, nothing worked. And nobody imagined that something like this will solve that problem. Now people had two options: either pay some chiller amount and get to watch legally, or do all that circus of illegal finding and everything, and they solved the problem. Can you imagine? They solved the problem of piracy. It looked like anarthas were getting destroyed. When you see it from a external perspective, people, that crime doing tendency was resolved. But then what happened? As this one company made a lot of money using that idea, all other big studios came up with their own platform. Disney Plus, Hotstar, Geo, Apple Plus, Apple TV, all of them came, and all of them said that because they were licensing the product to Netflix, they started taking everything from Netflix and they made their own models. And just to get subscribers, they kept very cheap price, $4, $3. People jumped in. People become addicted to shows. Now $15, $20, $30. Now, if you want to watch, if you want to go back to the TV days, if you want to watch something, on an average, you have to spend $100 in a month, $90 to $100, which comes to almost 80,000 rupees in Indian rupees, right? And there are ads also in that. Why all of this? Because some people got greedy. So who were leading the show, they got greedy. Who suffered? The common people. Of course, we devotees, I don't think anyone has any. I'm assuming we don't have any of that. We don't have time here to. Interestingly, there is something called as pure flicks. Have you know that? Have you heard of it? pure flicks. Catholic Church, they have come up with their own streaming platform where they make shows about Jesus, about Bible, and even the production quality is very nice. Apparently, I have not seen it, and because we have so much other things to do here. But so similarly, I wish sometimes that if our so many things are there in our scriptures now. Mahavatar Narsimha, which had come, that became little famous. Now Ramayana again is coming. So our devotees can do more of in that direction. Then we can also have some opportunity where we can actually reach out to more people. But this is one example where the people who are leading the way, unfortunately, they are not pure of heart. And as long as they are contaminated, then all the people who are following, they also will actually suffer the trauma. That's why if you see Naimisha Nimisha Kshetri Rishaya Saunakadaya Satram Sargaya Lokaya Sahasram Samamasata. What is that? Which verse is this? Which Puran? Bhagavatam. One Puran to be definitely. One Bhagavatam, another one is Vishnu Puran, Padma Puran. Any sloka you tell, if you don't know where the source is, it's in Vishnu Puran. Go 4 lakh verses there. Go find. Right? This is 1.1.4. First canto, first chapter, text number 4. So this is the context setting of the Bhagavatam. Naimisha Nimisha Kshetre, Rishaya Shaunakadaya, Satram Sargaya. For 1,000-year sacrifice, they are sitting, all the rishis, they're performing. If you read that purport, Prabhupada beautifully says 3 C's. Why the sages have the qualification to actually do good to the world. Cognizance, they have compassion, and ready to go out of their comfort zone for helping others. So only devotees, actually those who have purified their heart, they have the capacity to do good to others because they know what is good for other people. But what about other people? Those are not devotees, unfortunately, they are, because of the anarthas taking charge of them. Even if they want to do good, eventually it turns out to become bad and create more problem. Okay, so that we'll end the class here. Anyone has any questions? Yes.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you so much for the wonderful class. My question is about the intelligence of the Paramatma. Like for example, at 4:15 we are not able to wake up. My desire is to sleep, but the Paramatma says that okay, if you are not waking up, you get 0 marks in Sadhana card.
Okay. Okay.
So I feel that's the voice of Paramatma. On the contrary, let's say we're working on business decisions and brainstorming different ideas. Some ideas are working really well, some ideas are like flawed ideas.
Okay.
So the ideas that works very well are the ideas given by Paramatma, and the flawed ideas are ideas which are given by my own intelligence. So how do I take this? How do I hear the voice of Paramatma in the business, like when I'm working or when I'm brainstorming, how do I listen to the voice of Paramatma?
Okay. See, first of all, the inner world is too complicated to understand because who all are screaming from inside? Senses are screaming. I want to enjoy, I want to enjoy, I want to see something good, I want to hear something nice, I want to eat something. Then we have mind also. I like, I don't like, I like, I don't like, I like, I don't like. And then we have ego also. Right? And basically, if you read Burijan Prabhu's book, Japa book, there he clearly mentions actual culprit is the ego. Ego has made a long list of things. These are the things I like, these are the things I don't like. And mind is the gatekeeper, executioner. Mind is, so whatever list mind is saying, I like, I don't like, basically it is the ego. If you want to know the proof, whenever you're in charge is Dinesh Prabhu. Yeah, whenever he chastises you, right? Whenever he says, Prabhu, I told you to do this service, you didn't do this service, and something happens in the heart. Some pain starts coming. Basically, ego says, I am God. I'm supreme. I don't want to get chastised from anyone. I don't want to get insulted from someone. Right. So our mind is also screaming something. Ego is also screaming something. Our intelligence currently is contaminated materially because Bhagavad Gita says, Indriyani, Mano, Buddhir. Intelligence also has lust. So in that, and then Paramatma is also there. And Paramatma currently, at least before, after coming to Bhakti, at least we have given some space to Paramatma to speak. Otherwise, Paramatma was like in a fish market only. Mind is screaming, intelligence is screaming, soul is screaming, everyone is screaming only. And Paramatma is trying to speak, but we are not able to understand. Right. So, from a broad perspective, we understand Matta Smritir Jnanam Apohanam. Buddhir Buddhimatamasmi. I am the one who gives you the intelligence. Right. That broad principle is definitely there. But and secondly, in spiritual practices also, because we are not able to hear what Paramatma is saying, that's the reason we have Guru from outside. That's why it's called Chaitya Guru. Right. So Guru is basically speaking the same thing which is required for which Paramatma is wanting to tell us. Now coming to the business part, like when we are doing our functional activities, There, how do we ensure that we listen to Paramatma? Right. See, if the other part of the day, like Gaurang Prabhu says, if you take care of your 9 p.m. to 9 a.m., then you can take care of your 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. Which means from night 9 o'clock, 9 p.m. to whatever you do till morning 9 a.m. If you're staying in base, you're staying in base yoga, right? So 9 p.m., 9:30, you go to sleep because if you have to get up at 4 o'clock. So if you sleep by 9:30, then you get up by 4 o'clock, thanks to the sadhana card Prabhuji has put. So then you do your Mangalarti, 16 rounds chanting you're doing? 12 rounds, yeah. 12 rounds you are chanting. And then you're attending morning class, you're taking prasadam. 9 o'clock, now in 5 minutes, your day will start. Right. So if you have done this properly, then the remaining 12 hours, morning 9 to night 9, that you'll be able to do justice to it. Right. But even then, the thing is, don't expect that every decision we make should end up in should be a wow idea. Like, so because we, whatever idea at that point in time, whatever our thought process is, if you come up with an idea, it may work, it may not work. Like even Prabhupada, when he went to West, there may be so many ideas which he wanted to implement. Some worked, some didn't work. Right. Similarly, if you ask any senior devotee, if you ask Vraja Krishna Prabhu, Prabhuji, what was your plan for this whole center? He'll say, Prabhuji, I was thinking something else only, but something else only happened. Something worked, something. Ask Dinesh Prabhu, what all he wanted to do? He wanted to make a temple of Vedic planetarium or whatever, but then ultimately, right, we started with something, and then Prabhuji funds nahi hai, etc., etc. A lot of other challenges happen. Right. So don't think that if something didn't work, that was not Paramatma's idea. And something worked, that means it was Paramatma's idea. If that was the case, Google, Microsoft, these are devotees. Their ideas work, no. Their business successful at this point, right? The company that you're working, the very fact that they're in business means that their ideas are working. So how many people working in the company? People say 20% of the work, 80% of the work is done by 20% of the people in the company. So those 20 people who are there in your company, are they devotees? No, may not be, not necessarily, isn't it? So don't judge just based on the success of the decision, whether Paramatma gave that idea or not give that idea, right? One of the ways, actually, this is a little subjective, is if you actually act on what Paramatma is saying, then you will get a deep amount of satisfaction. Yayatma suprasiddhati. Right? And sometimes we may do some things which intellectually make sense, rationally make sense, but then we understand spiritually it is not right. And then you make that decision and you will find that deep within you're not satisfied. This is a subjective aspect. Right? And in case you make a mistake, even if you make a mistake, Krishna has a way to get things done even through your mistakes. We heard this past time of Akshay Patra. Durvas Muni goes to Duryodhan. Duryodhan serves him nicely. Durvasa is very happy. Duryodhan says, you have given me the opportunity to serve you. I want you to give the same opportunity to my other brothers also who are in the forest. But please go them during lunchtime because they'll have a lot of work to do. They'll finish their work. Peacefully they can serve you. That was the intention. Peacefully they can serve Durvas Muni. Why did he tell go after lunch? Draupadi would have had her lunch. Akshay Patra is washed. Now they have nothing to feed. Durvas Muni goes. And then the pastime. He go, then they say, yeah, please have a bath. They borrow time. One of the principles you learn in your management, borrow time. They say, please have a bath. 60,000 disciples are there. You have a bath and come, we will figure out something. And all of them are brainstorming. What to do? What's the solution? What's the solution? Right? And there is no solution. And now Yudhishthira Maharaj accepts. Now he's going to come back and he will curse. Already we are suffering and we will suffer even more. And Draupadi helplessly remembers Krishna. And Krishna comes. And what's the first thing Krishna says? Khane ke liye kuch hai kya? Right. Can you imagine? Draupadi is like, I called you to solve a problem and I'm feeling even more traumatized now. Because Durvasa Muni is one thing and now I can't even feed you. Krishna, no, something might be there, sir, something should be there. So then she sees in the pot there is one small piece of shark. Right. So then Krishna eats that and he's satisfied, and then all the sages get satisfied. What is the lesson we learn from this? Yasmin Tushtin, Jagat Tushtin. But there is another lesson we can learn from this. See, Draupadi, when she was coming out of her palace for this Vanvas, two of her maid servants said that even if you don't pay us, it's okay. We will stay with you. They were very loyal to her. So it's possible that Akshay Patra was washed by them. Generally, like in our offering plates, sometimes offering plates are made up of silver, gold. So if you have some special kind of plates, we'll make sure that they're extra cleanly washed every day on a daily basis. So your Akshay Patra, which is actually their savior, because of which they're able to have their food also and then serve the Brahmanas also. How is it that it was not properly cleaned? It's possible that one of the maid servants didn't clean it properly, but responsibility is Draupadi's. It's Draupadi's kitchen. So a mistake was made, a shark was left behind, but then Krishna used that mistake to serve his devotees. Right. So like this, even if suppose we make some mistakes, we make a decision and then it turned out to be wrong. We had good intention. Like in the beginning of the class I mentioned, Guru Dosha Shastra you consulted, you checked your intention, you take a decision and that decision backfired. Right. So even then Krishna has a way of actually using it in the, to do the right thing for us. So similarly, don't be paranoid that every decision has to work. Not necessarily. Whatever decision you get at that point in time, if it makes sense, you start with it. Over a period of time, it backfires, it backfires. Right? Some decisions will work, some will not. That is the nature of this world. If you want every act, decision, every effort that you put to come, results to come, then basically we are saying we want to be apta kam. That is Krishna basically. Krishna can fulfill his desires, whatever he wants. Right? We are not on that platform. Right? Even Prabhupada said that when sannyasi doesn't follow principle, what he should do, commit suicide. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we give example of Chota Haridas. And then later devotees asked, what do you want us to do, Prabhupada? They said, I'm not Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. I'm not God. Right? I want all of you to serve and spread this mission. So if you change from sannyas ashram to grihastha ashram, continue chanting and continue practicing Krishna consciousness. Right? So there will be disappointments. There will be decisions which will backfire. Right? So don't have to beat yourself. I'm a useless guy. Good ideas don't come only, etc., etc. Matasmriti jnanamapavanam cha. Our karma is also there, and not all decisions need to be judged based on whether they are successful or not successful. Okay. I think it's 9 o'clock now. We'll call it for the class. Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki.
Jai.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.